What's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists, and welcome to this special review of my Alien RPG module, the Chariot of the Gods. Now, this is a review based on my personal opinions, so it's totally subjective. But if you are interested in this game and you're a potential player, I suggest you stop watching this video now. But please feel free to send any GMs that you may be working with this way. So, you know, if you are interested in perhaps playing this as a gaming group at some time in the future, you know, whenever, like I say, just send your GM this way because there will be spoilers in this. Okay, so let's crack this thing open. Right, okay, so to begin with, this Alien module, Chariot of the Gods, which I have right here. I won't give my opinions on like my overall general opinions until the end. I will talk about the adventure itself first, and then I'll give my opinions on it at the end. So okay, so it's a cinema. It's by Free League Publishing, and it's their first cinematic module, gaming module for the awesome game Alien, the RPG game. So this particular adventure is broken down into 3 acts, and I do like the way that this module has done it. In my experience of running games, this has been one of the easiest to read through and understand and put together how I want the adventure to go. So we start off with Act 1 then. The crew wake up from hypersleep to discover at some point that they've been woken early. They're in a completely wrong place. There is a distress call, a signal, or some other anomaly that Mother, which is the onboard ship's computer, tells them they have to investigate. Cue shenanigans, and there's other random events which I like. One of the things I like about this module is it's got a list of random events and in order of act as well that you can throw in to ramp up the stress level, to add some spice to the story if things aren't going quite perhaps the way you want them to, and things like that. Now, it has to be said at this point of the adventure, one of the characters, whether that's a PC, NPC, whatever, one of the characters in this game is an android undercover. Okay, so one of them, you can have it, you can run it as one of your players, is the android. So you get given, the module comes with enough players to choose from. And these are players that you can get from the deck of cards as well that Free League Publishing put out from this. So you can use that. You can either use them just in this game, or you can use them in many games. It's entirely up to you. So they do this. Of course, they investigate this anomaly. They find out they are miles off course, and there's all other kind of why have they done this to us sort of things. And you've got a corporate agent on board as well. He's one of the characters, and one of the PCs can be him or her if they so choose. They find the source of the distress call, the signal, whatever you want it to be, and they discover it's this what appears to be a derelict ship called the Kronos, CSS Kronos, or whatever it is. Anyway, whatever the prefix is, it's the Kronos. You start off on the players start on a ship called the Montero. Anyway, they find this Kronos. They've got a docking port with like a mobile walkway thing they can attach onto it, so they don't have to go into outer space to get there. But when they get there, they discover that the hatch has been damaged in some way. It's not open, but it's been damaged. And then they get on board. They look around, and this is the point where you as the GM can have things like, depending on what equipment they've taken with them, because you start off on the Montero, don't forget, which is the characters or the players' ship, if you like. There are tracking devices that they can take with them. So if they take a tracking device, and as human beings, we know there's going to be something on board this derelict. So you're going to take a tracking device anyway, but it's going to be like an element of surprise when the tracking device picks up movement and there's something on there with them. Of course, they discover weird things, these like fungal things, and you've got like these spores or dust like spores that are floating about, and it's all very strange. They discover a decapitated, well, not decapitated, but a headless body. Don't know why I said decapitated. He's a headless body of one of the crew that appears to, for all intents and purposes, to have shot their own head off with a shotgun. They notice that there's the arms of the person are unusually long, to the point of breaking their environmental suit. So almost simian-like, and they just find that that's really odd. The possibilities where the characters decide to, go to the bridge first, restore power, whatever they want to do. Go to the med lab, and but they encounter a neomorph, which is one of the stages of the one of the alien beings on board. They have an encounter with it. Yeah, they have an encounter with this thing which you can use to your advantage to again ramp up the stress and the panic in the players. And that's when you can throw in, and now some of these events, these random events that are given to you act by act, are mandatory. So some of them you have to play through at some point. Now there is a danger here of the characters feeling railroaded, because it is a cinematic adventure. It is going to be fairly linear. Okay, it's not a sandbox adventure, so be clever about the way you do it. There's numerous ways you can do this to make the players feel like they still have infinite number of choices out there, while still progressing the story along the line that you want it to go, or it has to go to reach its conclusion. Anyway, Act 2 begins after the encounter with the Neomorph. Now either the PCs will have defeated it or they're still being stalked by it. And this is after a mandatory event that the mother of the derelict ship has come on board, has come to life, and has powered up, and is, because it's detected the movement, so it's powered up, and it comes over the tannoy or whatever system you got, because it's a very strange universe, the alien universe. Their vision of the future is very odd. Which at the time I suppose made sense, having computers the size of a room and that sort of thing, whereas these days you could have it the size of a wristwatch, couldn't you? But bear in mind you're in that universe, okay? Anyway, it says that the decompression chamber, the cryogenic hypersleep things are coming online and it's being deactivated, so there's people on board this ship, which it turns out that the mother of the Montero says they have to sort of rescue, but the main thing they have to do is bring back samples that they were carrying, that it knows that this ship was carrying. The players don't know anything about this, see, and so you've got one corporate agent so far, but when they get to the crew that are being awoken on the Kronos, one of them called Johns, they tells the PCs when he's able to come around and stuff, because they're very dehydrated to start with, that they set down on this planet called LV1113. They explored ancient ruins, to which Clayton, which is the company agent of the Kronos, she interjects quickly saying it was an archaeological mission. Okay, but they inadvertently brought spores back aboard with them. It infected some of the crew. You can see where this is going, because the rest of the crew abandoned ship sort of thing. So spinning on a bit, because yes, we've got spoilers in this, but I don't want to have too many spoilers even for the GMs. But you got Act 3, which is basically the final act, sees the PCs fighting for their lives. on the derelict Cronus. And at this point, there's a lot of suspicion regarding who's on whose side, and the characters facing off with each other and other corporate agents, as well as the creatures that are trying to kill them. So, of course, there's more events you can add into the mix, and in the final act, there are no mandatory ones. And what I like about this game will either end badly, or it will end with all the characters dead. It's not one of those games. Alien isn't one of these games where you are most likely going to all live happily ever after. It's not a game about that. It's about maybe one or two of you will survive, maybe. And what I like about at the end of the module, you've got this sign-off message which the module gives for one of the PCs to read, assuming anyone's still alive, of course, which in all likelihood is not going to be likely. But it's a rather nice touch, and it makes it feel like it's more of a movie, which I like, and I hope they continue with this trend, because it makes for their cinematic adventures to be more Alien movie-like. So, the adventure itself, which to me plays out like a typical Alien movie, I enjoyed. I read through it and I enjoyed it. I've even run through some sections of it using solo mechanics, which, you know, you can't do the whole thing like that, not on a cinematic pre-made module. But I've discussed it. I've watched many other people playing through this in their groups on YouTube, so I've got a pretty good feel of this game. I enjoy it. I think it's a very good game. I have a couple of gripes about it. Now, on average, it's going to cost you about 20 to £22 on average to get this. Okay, with postage and so on, and it is a 44-page booklet, and it is a booklet. You can't call it a book. It's not that thick, so it's a bit thin on the ground. Now, what it does give you, though, you've got some pre-made characters in it, which is nice, and you can download these from the Free League website or other places online, which is a nice touch. So you can easily make use of these for your own homebrew stuff, which, you know, you are entitled to do. As I feel that as it's a kind of introduction to the game of Alien, and I want to talk about artwork here, because for me, artwork makes an RPG, a good RPG, into a great RPG. Yes, and I understand theatre of the mind works best for these horror type games, but I just wish we had something here. I mean, there's very, the only artwork you've got really is are of the characters of the game itself. There's a couple of smaller pictures in there, but it's a bit thin on the ground. I would have liked artwork, particularly of, say, the galley when the crew first wake up in Act 1 and they're all sat around having their coffee and food, and you know, I'd have liked a picture of that. I'd have liked a picture of what they first see when they're entering the Cronus for the first time. That would have been good, or or perhaps a couple of corridor scenes, something in the shadows, but you can't make it out. That would have been good. The other thing I have a bit of a gripe with is the maps in it, and it suggests that you pull out the maps in the middle, which are these green ones here. You've got the Kronos there, of the different decks of the ship. Okay. But they don't have a pull-out of the Montero, which is where you start the game. Okay. Personally, I didn't like the fact that it was part of the book That alone, I would have liked it if they'd have had a fold out map, or a couple of fold out maps of the different decks, and of the Montero and of the Sotilo. Is it called the Sotilo? The other ship that could make an appearance in this game. It's not mandatory, but you know, there is another ship out there as well, and I just feel that it would have been nicer, and I would have been prepared to pay a bit more even for that. But as it stands, I felt £22 was slightly overpriced, but it is a good game. It's a very good game. And I love the way it's laid out. I do love the way it's laid out. It keeps continuity with the rule book as in terms of its layout. I would have liked that. So yeah, going back to the maps, you can download the maps and then print them out, but I would have liked a bigger one, perhaps, that it was like a fold out one or something. It could have done with handouts and handout artwork as well, which would have been phenomenal. That would have made it absolutely stunning as an RPG module. It really would. But that aside, it's one of the better modules I've encountered in any game. I've encountered, I suppose, the majority of the modules I've encountered have been for games like D&D, but I have run through a few in other games. I've got to say, Chariot of the Gods is one of the better ones, but it could have been the best had they had a bit of more artwork and some actual fold out handouts as well, without having to pull your already thin booklet apart, which of course I didn't do. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather print out from the web or the internet and hand those out. But I would have liked a bigger map personally. That's just my own personal opinion. But there you go. That is my opinion on Chariot of the Gods. I hope you've enjoyed it, and perhaps you can check out my Patreon and help me support my channel and keep it going for the future. And it's thanks to my patrons that gives me a lot of the motivation to keep going. And I can do things, I can do videos like this, which is absolutely awesome because I just enjoy doing it so much. But thank you to everyone watching. Remember, all brushes lead to war. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. Bye bye.